The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the TowerCoverage.com live webinar brought to you by Link Technologies. Today we're going to cover the basics of tower coverage. We will mostly cover more in-depth on newer features, but we will cover pretty much all the features of tower coverage. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the questions panel, and we will answer all the questions if I can't answer them during the webinar. I'll answer them at the question and answer section at the end of this webinar. So TowerCoverage.com, what is it? It is an RF propagation website that allows you to input the settings of your access points across your network and get propagation maps. Also has a lot of powerful tools to include website integration, end user submissions, best tower features. One of our newest features is our address marketing list. You can also get the data from you can get the data to do your FCC Form 477, so it's a very powerful tool. All right, so we will go ahead and get started here. We have Dennis Burgess as well here with us that will be helping answer questions along the way as well. So once you sign up for your Tower Coverage account, you can see all the available features. You can view our public maps anywhere in the world. So that way, whenever you make your coverages, you can choose to place your maps on our public map. So that way, if somebody happens to find TowerCoverage.com, they come here and it says looking for service. It allows them to come and fill out this form, which is much like the EUS form, the iframe form that you can do on your website as well. Difference being is that they don't need to know that you even exist for you to receive the data from these. So basically, if a random end user comes to Tower Coverage, fills this form out, and they are within 50 miles of one of your coverages, we are going to let you know that there is somebody that is looking for service in your area. Once you have your account, all signed up and set up, you can register for a 14-day free trial or a 2-day free trial, totally up to you. The 14-day one does require billing information, the 2-day does not. Once you're in your account, you want to make sure that all of your account settings are accurate. So what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that your company profile, this will be pre-populated with the stuff that you put in the registration page, but you do want to make sure this is accurate, especially if you're going to have a public map, because this is what's displayed on our public map when they click on the pin in your area. So it's this business information, so that way they can contact you. This address is also used whenever you're creating a site, so that way it will start your site out near your business rather than when you're trying to locate a site. The next thing you'll do is if you want to have upload a logo, it will allow you to upload an image, so that way if you want a printable version of your links when creating links, it'll put your logo at the top of it. You can also add users in the users section here. This allows you, there is a single master account. So the first admin of the account, the person that created the account, will end up becoming the master account. You can create up to 2 more admins, but you can also create input users and read-only users. You can have as many users as you like. Keep in mind that if you do give somebody one of those 2 admin rights, they have the ability to change anything and delete anything off of your account as well. So they can delete your data, they can update your API stuff, they can do all your end user submission settings and everything. So make sure it's somebody that you want to have full access before doing that. And then if you want to manage your subscription, it's right here in the manage subscription area. You can go up or down in whatever tier you need. It will also show you the same thing as the homepage, the features available, how many coverages and calls and everything that you get with each tier. Your EUS settings, there are several different things in here that allow you to modify your account. You can add custom pins. By default, you do have the 4 pins that are available. These cannot be edited or removed, so your serviceable new EUS, no service, and installed pins, they will always be there. But if you want to add another pin, you can add a pin for non-paying customer or whatever you want to add. You give it a name and you select one of the icons that we have available. You hit update and it'll add that pin and make it available. So we can show you, just to give an example, we'll name this one test, and see, now we have the test pin, but we can also get rid of it if we like. You can add your Google Analytics ID, or you can change the language text of your EUS iframe. Keep in mind, this will not change what the value is that is required there. For example, in the email address field, it does require that it is some sort of email address, and it will check for that. So just by changing the text over here, so if you just wanted to change it to a different language, you can type the words email address in whatever language you wish and update that, so that way the iframe form shows in the language that you wish to have it in. In your API section, this is where you will put in your API credentials for your billing system. If you want your end user submissions to be pushed into your CRM of your choice, we have several available. There's PowerCode, Azotel, Vis, BillMax, Sonar, and Aerodal are the known ones that we know of at this time. There could be others. Many platforms integrate with TowerCoverage. It is basically a data push. All we do is push the data. And then they choose how it is accepted and what is done with all the data once it gets to their side. You can also test your API process once you have it all in here. If you're a tier 5 or greater account, you can bulk upload your customer data as well. It makes it to where you can, when you go to the bulk upload API, you can download our CSV template. You can fill out the template with all those service requests that you've gotten over the years that are stacked up in a filing cabinet, and put them into your TowerCoverage account. And what that'll do is give you the EUS output for all of those customers that you have been trying to get service, or you couldn't get service before. This allows you to do a lot of things that we'll touch base on here in a little bit as well once we get into the EUS data section. And then if you don't like the EUS iframe form, this is also where you would come to get your account ID, your account key, and then you can also use our EUS API template generator. This is literally just a template. You will need a Google Map key. You do not need a Google Map key if you use the iframe version, because the iframe is actually on our server. If you want to have the custom form and you want to use our EUS API, then you will need a Google Map key, because then the map is actually being brought up on your server, not ours. So you will need a key. Once you have a key, it is free to get. You can call the Google Map API. I think it's 2,500 times per day without having a paid key. So it's usually not a problem to just get a free key and paste it in here. Make the changes. Pick your colors that you want, pin styles, anything you want. Hit show code. Once you do that, you copy this and you paste it into your website, and you're done. And then you can modify this however you want as well. I mean, you can change your shapes, sizes, whatever you see fit to match your website. Your land cover is the next area that we will touch on. Keep in mind that you can add as many different types of land cover as you want. If you have an area that has more denser trees than the other, you can create another land cover for it. What this allows you to do is adjust land cover for specific areas. So as you can see, we have our standard. Everybody has a standard one that starts at a very baseline, but you can add ones, as we did right here. We did a 50% one. It's very simple to do. You just hit your add new, you give it a name, hit add new, and it'll show up in this drop down. The density percentage on all land cover values is 0 to 10,000%. So that's why this one's labeled 50%. But as you can see, it has a density of 5,000. The height is always in meters, and the density is 0 to 10,000. In your overlay management, this allows you to add KMLs and KMZs. Whenever you are adding these, keep in mind this is so that way you can put an overlay such as, we have some examples in there. The U.S. county lines and stuff are visible whenever you get to your maps that are static overlays that we put in there for examples. When you're adding one of these, it does have to be less than 3 meg in size, and that is a Google Maps restriction. We cannot increase that. There's no way for us to. So make sure it's a KML or KMZ format. And there is no special characters or spaces in the name, and upload any overlay that you wish to use. Do keep in mind that if you're taking a KML or KMZ from Google Earth and putting it into your TowerCoverage account, Google Maps, the web browser version of Google Maps, doesn't have all of the abilities that the actual Google Earth program does. So there are some functionalities like moving pins and animations and stuff that are not going to appear when you upload those into a Google Map. But that is mostly just animations and decorative things, but all the labels and stuff will carry through. We also have your antenna patterns. If you do not see the antenna pattern that you wish to use in the Tower Coverage antenna list, you can contact the manufacturer of any antenna that you wish to use, and that will allow you to get a radio mobile compatible .ant file from the manufacturer, come in here into your Tower Coverage account, upload it in, and then it will become available in the uploaded pattern section of the antenna pattern list in the during coverage creation and radio systems. Tower Coverage is a monthly based subscription. So if you need a invoice, you can come to your payment details, see what all the payments that you've made, and you can also print an invoice from your payment details page. If you can't find something in the tutorial, there is a tutorial button up here in the top left corner. It's an active tutorial. If you can't find it in there, then you can go to the Tower Coverage Wiki. And this allows you to search and look for the values or the reasons for any field, or there's a lot of information there. And then if that still doesn't work, then you can contact us. We are U.S. Central Time, so it's 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time. You can call us Monday through Friday, or you can send us an email at support@TowerCoverage.com. Once you have your account all set up, you're going to need to get your tower locations in. In Tower Coverage, a tower location is referred to as a site. Whenever you're adding your sites, there are many different ways to add your sites. You can come down here and just simply download the import template, fill it out, and upload it in, and that will add all of your tower locations. You can drag the map around and just start clicking. If you know where your tower is, you can find it and click it. You can search for the address up here at the top of the bar, or over here on the right, if you type in the latitude or the longitude, it will move the pin accordingly. The DMS latitude and longitude, you can use those as well, and they will update the latitude and longitude as well. And you want to also make sure you set the appropriate height of the tower. What this does is when you're creating a coverage, it allows you to just select the tower, and it will pre-fill the antenna height when creating a coverage. You can always change it. It is not a static value. You can change those for each antenna, but it speeds things up if you have several sectors at the top of that tower. It speeds up the coverage creation process as well. In the import template, you will need to make sure that you provide a name, something identifying. You have to at least put a height of 0 meters. The import template does have to be in meters, so you cannot put it in feet. Otherwise, it's going to assume meters on the CSV upload. And then the latitude and longitude on the upload also have to be in decimal degrees. They cannot be in DMS, so keep that in mind. The description and group on the upload template can be left blank, just like they can be here in the site. You do not have to put anything in these. And then the pin style type on the import is the same as it is right here. Red is number 1, blue is 2, orange is 3, and green is 4. Once you have all of your tower sites in tower coverage, there's a couple different things that you could do at that point. If you have a lot of your sectors that are very, very similar or identical, what you can do is create a radio system. And this allows you to essentially create a cookie cutter to apply throughout your network. These are a lot of the same settings, many of the same settings that you are going to see when creating a coverage. You do not have to create a radio system. It is completely optional, and you will see during creating a coverage that there is an optional drop-down list that will give you the option of selecting one of the radio systems that you created. You do not have to use them though. Once you have your radio system created, you will see right here it says select radio system optional. We have several radio systems in tower coverage already, but then any that you add into your radio systems will also become available in this drop-down list. As you can see, as we select these, it will change many of the values from the radio system and go ahead and apply them here. You'll need to select your tower site. So we can just select one of our towers, and you see that it pre-fills the antenna height for us. So that makes it to where you can essentially select a tower site, it'll pre-fill the antenna height, you select your radio system, and you give it a name, and you hit create. That makes it very, very quick to create a single coverage, or if you are wanting to create all the coverages around a single tower, you can simply put in a name, set an azimuth, select your antenna type, and then come down here into our plot coverage array section. And what this allows you to do is, since we have a 90-degree sector and our first sector is pointing at an antenna azimuth of 0, it's going to take the first one and point it at 0 degrees due north. And then it's going to use the advertised beam width of that sector, and it's going to populate them all the way around the tower. So you'll have one at 0, one at 90, one at 180, and one at 270. So that makes it very, very quick to start creating your coverages. But we'll kind of go over these settings. And if you, like I said, if you have any questions later on or you can't remember, there's this little question mark here that will take you to the appropriate page of the Tower Coverage Wiki to explain stuff. And many of these fields, if you hover over them, they will give you what the recommended setting of these individual fields is as well. As you're coming down through here, in your system settings, the RX threshold, this is what we recommend. It is an RSSI. Keep that in mind if you're doing LTE. Most of the CPEs display an RSRP, not RSSI, so there is a difference. So keep that in mind when you're setting this. But this is the value that you want to set. What is the minimum signal required for a successful install off of this sector that you're creating? So if we want to see at least a -70 whenever we go out and do an install, that's what we're going to put in there. Our required reliability percentage, this is a fudge factor basically. It is going to increase or decrease the statistical loss of the coverage. So if you turn this up, it's going to add more loss to the coverage, so you're going to see less coverage area. If you turn this down, it's going to remove some of that loss, so you will see more coverage area. Your strong signal margin, the only thing this is used for is to determine what is displayed in the strong signal and the weak signal colors. You can change these colors if you like for a single coverage, but when they go into a multi-map, do keep in mind that they are going to go back to a default of a light green for strong and a dark green for weak signal area. So the strong signal margin, what it does is it uses your RX threshold and your strong signal margin, and that's what determines. You can see that as we move this slider, it changes the values over there in the overlay settings. So basically what it does is it shows the first, so if we have this at 7, so the first 7 dB of actual positive signal margin is displayed in the red, and then as soon as it reaches the -63 point, or better, it starts displaying in the green. Use land cover for most WISP and most situation. You're going to want to make sure you use your land cover, because if you turn this to no, then it's going to remove all trees and buildings from the calculation. So you're not going to get very good accuracy when it comes to doing RF propagation, but the option to do it is there. Use land cover type. Here's the land cover that we were talking about. So we're able to set it to whichever land cover that we want to use for this specific coverage. Use 2-rays. This is, if you turn this on, it takes into account multipath. So like in an LTE situation that you're going to want to, we generally suggest that you turn that on. You're going to get better results off those. And then your create view shed. What this is it takes, and even though you are using land cover and there is a density percentage set in your land cover setting, if you turn on the create view shed, it will use your land cover height settings, but it will ignore your density settings, and it will turn all of the settings to a maximum 10,000 for your all of your land cover. So it's going to make all land cover impenetrable by RF. In your RX settings, your average client antenna height, this is what the average would, for the area would be. So if this sector is a bunch of one-story ranch houses, that's what you would do, your average install height. Client antenna gain, we do recommend that you put the largest antenna that you are willing to install off of this coverage area or this sector. The reason for this being is that you're going to see all of the coverage that you can get signal to, and if you do a path analysis and the signal shows up extremely hot, neg 30, neg 40, something like that, you don't have to take that reflector dish with you, or whatever the situation may be. Your RX loss and your TX line loss. If you are not using LMR or something like that, then 0.5 are generally perfectly acceptable, but keep in mind if you are using something like LMR to do runs, then you want to look at what the actual statistic of the cable that you're using and calculate what that is, because they have a spec that says how much loss per foot. And as I said before, there are many antennas already available in TowerCoverage. We have several different manufacturers in here, but if you decide that you don't want to use one of these that are in here, there is the upload antenna pattern section, where if you go and get one of those antenna patterns from the manufacturer and upload it into your account, it makes it to where you can, those will become available in the drop down as well. Your antenna gain, which that is in dBi, your EUS beam width filter. This setting is very important. As you can see, we selected a 60-degree sector, and you notice that there is the EUS beam width filter, but we also down here ask what the advertised beam width filter is as well. The reason for that is the EUS beam width filter does not affect propagation whatsoever. What this does is it takes the center line, divides your beam width filter by 2, and it puts that amount, that many degrees on either side of the center line. So what's going to happen is if you do a path analysis or an EUS submission comes through and it's 0.1 degree outside what you have this beam width filter set to, even though it shows that they are in a colored area, an area that you should be able to service, this eliminates the use of the back feed of a sector, and it also eliminates the use of the side lobes of a sector. So a 60-degree sector, the coverage area or the usable coverage area of that sector is closer to 90 degrees. So if you're wanting to use those side lobes, then you are going to want to turn that up a little bit, so that way if they have a positive signal but they're just outside the advertised beam width, that this will allow it to be 15 degrees to the left and 15 degrees to the right outside of whatever is advertised. Your antenna azimuth is a whole number value, and that's the magnetic azimuth of where this is facing. So you definitely want to make sure you use magnetic, not true. And if you do not know exactly what it is, keep in mind that you can just type in a number here, and this little azimuth over here will kind of point in the direction. So if you're just kind of trying to get an idea of a coverage area, then you can do that as well. Your tilt, if you put a positive number in here, this positive 2 would be a 2-degree up tilt. A negative 2 would be a 2-degree down tilt. You'll select your frequency. Your exact center frequency you do not have to use. This is mostly for records for you, but it also affects the frequency coordination feature of the MultiMap. Your TX power is in dBm, and the TX line loss is the same thing as your RX line loss. Rendering quality, we do have 3 different options. You can do low res, high res, or very high. If you're trying to hone in a coverage and you want to get an idea of what it's going to look like first, you do low res and it'll process very quickly. And what that is going to allow you to do is make it to where you can, if you put it on low res, they're going to process a lot quicker. If you do it on high res, then it's going to take much longer to not much longer. The high res is about 30 seconds, and then very high is about 30 to 45 seconds, sometimes a minute. So once you get it all honed in, then you can turn it into very high resolution. Next thing you want to do is select your colors if you're opting to change the colors for your single ones, but as I said before, it will go back to a default light green and dark green. Your opacity is how dense the colored area is. So if you turn this up to 100%, you won't be able to see through it, thus not being able to see any trees and stuff like that. If you turn it down to 0, it's going to be so faint that you can't hardly see it at all, but it still will be visible at 0, just barely. And then your maximum range in kilometers. This will cut the coverage area off. Keep in mind, if you turn this way down, it's going to affect the terrain resolution. So you don't want to turn it down to nothing, because then it's going to be zoomed in so small that it isn't going to show hardly any coverage at all, unless that's what you really want. Then once you have all of your coverages in your account, you can then, at that point, you can start making your links. If you want to do create all the links for your backbone of your network, you don't absolutely have to. It's totally up to you. This is where we're referring to the ability to print links. So if you have a logo uploaded, you'll be able to bring this up and it'll have your logo above it, rather than just being empty, and that allows you to print those out. In the links section, this uses tower sites. You do have to have a site prior to doing a new link, unless you do it from a coverage. It is possible to do them from a coverage, but this is the way you do them one by one, is just creating a new link. But we'll go ahead and take a look at one of our coverages here. So here's one of our coverages that we did. So this one here, that one's a bad example. I'm sorry about that. That was a testing one. All right, so we'll just do one of these down here. All right, here's a better example. So what we have here is one of the coverages that we created. And so keep in mind, whenever you make a coverage, you're not stuck with those settings. They are available to change over here, or you can simply just start making a coverage, and then once you get it honed in, it looks accurate to you and everything. So that it allows you can either do the radio system thing first, or you can create the coverage first, figure out what works best and what's accurate for your network, and then you can create a radio system just by clicking the button up here. You can do the plot array to create a bunch of them, or you can come into here and you can duplicate them from here as well. So there's a lot of different options, a lot of different ways to get your coverages into tower coverage. You can always go through and change them. In the coverages, though, there are a few features in the coverage that help you throughout your account. You can view your KMLs that you uploaded into your account from the coverage. You can also view the map data if you want to take a look at the map data. You can do that. So this is the population data that was used to generate this coverage. You can turn that one off, and you can view the land cover as well. So all of these colors that you see here directly correspond with the colors that you see in your land cover settings. So you got your grassland, you have the different types of trees. Your pink is your cropland, water is blue, light blue is your low urban. Let's see if we got some. Yep, there's some red, which is the high urban buildup. So you can see all those different land cover types that are being used when your coverage is being created. You can switch to different types of maps. If you don't like the satellite view, you can go to a road map view. So whatever you'd like to do. And then we have the other options. We have the ASR tower in here, and we'll go over that whenever we get to the multi-map, but we'll go ahead and show you a path analysis real quick. So a path analysis, here is what I was referring to when I said you can create a link from a coverage. If you're trying to create a link, you can find your location, click on the map, and click path analysis. This allows you to test any given location off of the settings of this coverage. So you have the option of saving it or not saving it. If you want to save it as a link, you will need to give it a name and a site name. So what this is going to do is save the link in your links section, and it's going to save a new site in your sites list. But we're not going to save it this time, but you can choose an install height as well. If you just open this up and hit don't save, it's going to use the client average antenna height from this coverage, or you can change it if you like. So once you select don't save, it's going to pop open a new tab. It's going to bring it in. It's going to give you a lot of statistics about the location that you selected. You can drag this slider if you want to see which of these little areas that are colored up on the image, where those are actually at. You can move the slider, and as you can see, it'll move the orange dot down below, allowing you to zoom in and see what is actually there. It does give the tower location, the elevation at the tower, gives the height of the tower, and that comes directly from the settings of your coverage. Then it gives some information about the client side, the alignment. So this is the direction that you would have to point from the customer's location, and also the tilt. So in this case, this is almost just like pointing due north. I barely missed it actually, and it has almost a 1 degree up tilt whenever you're installing this customer, and that's if you install at the 10-meter height. And then it'll show that this is going to be a marginal link. It is a neg 86.9, and that's according to the settings of our coverage. So we have the neg 90. So because it's within a very small margin, that's why it's saying it's marginal. And then it also shows you the distance. Now, if this wasn't a good link, if it showed a bad link and the reason was because the terrain was in the way, it would tell you a suggested height here as well. And then you can also view your EUS data from within here. I'm not sure if I have any in here yet. We'll do that as soon as we get to the multi-map. But once you have all your coverages in, oh, yep, I do have some in there. There they are. But you can view them from your coverage map as well. Once you have all of your coverages in here, then you can also add fiber coverages. What this allows you to do is lay out essentially the same thing as an RF coverage, except it is actually a fiber route. So what this is you can go in and you can create a fiber coverage, and it has to be less than 70 kilometers wide and less than 25 points per coverage. So if you get to the 25 point stage or 70 kilometers, then you just simply save that section of the fiber and start another section. And then you can also define the distance allowed. So as you can see, this one here has 200 meters or 656 feet away from the line. So basically what we're wanting is anybody who is within that 200 meters from the line, we want to know that they're looking for service, and we want to know that they're close enough to be installed off the fiber. All the other settings, the strand count, the color, the notes, and the mode and the type, that's just all for your knowledge base, basically. It doesn't affect anything when the coverage is being created. Once you have all of your fiber in your fiber coverages and your RF coverages in your Tower Coverage account, you will want to make a multi-map out of them. The multi-map is where Tower Coverage gets a lot more powerful. You'll select which one of your coverages are going to be in this multi-map. To use the website integration, if you're wanting to show your customers your entire network, then you can just simply check them all and add selected, and it puts them all over here. And you can give this a name, like support example display. So what this is going to do is, what we'll do, the place pins on sites, this does not display to your customers. So this is the only reason these pins display is if you're viewing this map from inside tower coverage. It will not display the pins to your tower locations to your customer. The EUS data collection form, if we leave this off, this will be a display map. And so the display map allows you to actually show a map to your customers. So that way, anytime you update your account, your website of your coverage area automatically updates with it. Display fiber on the iframe, that same thing as displaying the map. If you leave this checkbox off, it's not going to show your fiber routes. If you turn the checkbox on, those fiber polygons that you've seen whenever when we were looking at those will be displayed in the view as well. And then here's the setting for make this map publicly viewable. You can only have 3 public maps on the tower coverage public map. So if you have a large network area, you can split your network into three maps and make them publicly viewable, just so that way you have 3 pins on our public map. And that way the pin is close to the coverage area for that region. And then you can also set your zoom level. Once you have a multi-map made, so as you can see in our multi-map list here, we have a all network data collection and an all network display map. You can see that neither one of these are publicly viewable because these are test maps, and we didn't want people calling us about a test map from a webinar. The data collection is, we have one of them on. This is a data collection map, and one of them is off. And then show pins is on all 3 of these maps. And we have another one down here for use for our address list feature that we will go over here shortly as well. But if we go ahead and open up our all network data collection map, you'll see that we have several different towers in here with several different pin colors, and we also have fibers that are in our route as well. So the multi-map has a lot of features that a coverage doesn't. The path analysis for the multi-map, you cannot save a link from a path analysis from a multi-map, excuse me. This is because the path analysis from a multi-map is a multi-link. What this does is it takes that location that you give and it analyzes all the coverages on your network. What this will do is it will take that location, it will first check the distance of all the coverages to make sure that they are within distance of the coverage. The next thing it's going to do is it's going to look at the beam width filter setting of the coverage. Using the beam width filter and the alignment, it's going to determine whether this location is within the coverage area or the beam width of the coverage. If it is not, it throws that one out and doesn't use it. And if it's not within range, it throws those out and doesn't use it. And then it's going to analyze what the actual projected performance or signal of that location is. Then it is going to give you the 6 best possible links to that customer location. So in this case, it only found one that is a good link, but it had some that it did fall within the beam width and it did fall within range, but there wasn't any other coverages that were better, so it went ahead and showed you this. So as you can see in this situation right here, it was able to also calculate out that you would have to have an 80-meter tall tower at that customer location to even get to the RX threshold. But as you can see, you cannot save from there because then it doesn't know which one to save. There are a lot of other options. You can change these on the fly. You can click the toggle switch and make it publicly viewable, turn the fibers on the iframe, turn your data collection on and off. You don't have to reprocess it for these to take effect. Same thing with changing the name. If you want to change the name of the map, you can. You can test the iframe or you can copy the iframe code. So the iframe code is what we were referring to earlier when it comes to EUS data collection. To test the iframe, this is if you integrate onto your website the iframe code, this is the form that you are going to see. This allows you to fill out the form. Oh, we forgot to select one. There we go. So if you fill out the form, you can see what your customers are going to see. It will carry over in the EUS settings. Those settings the EUS settings are what affect this form. So the text that you see inside this box, you can change all of that. But basically, it allows your customers to request service at their address location. It geolocates their location that they provided to you. It puts it on a map, and then it recommends to them to move the pin to their exact location, because we all know addresses aren't exactly correct. It could end up in the field behind their house because they own 5 acres, but we give them the option to move it so that way it can be more exact. Once they move it, they simply just click finish, and it will use your EUS settings to determine how it responds after that. Keep in mind, you do not have to use this iframe. As I stated before, you can use the API if you like, and you can make your form as customized as you like. You cannot change any of the required fields or anything like that on the iframe. There are methods in which you can somewhat do that with the APIs by just putting in default values and hiding the fields on the custom one. So you can do that if you want. You can view the weather radar. We don't have a whole lot of weather going on right now, but you can see the little green splotches showing up here and there from the radar. You can change the type of map, just like we did from the coverage. You can view your uploads. You can also view link groups. So once you create all of your links, you can actually insert those into a link group, and that allows you to actually view them all together simultaneously from your MultiMap. And then you can click on the line and actually see what that link statistics are without actually going and viewing the link itself. You can go and view the link itself if you like, and we can actually show you that as well here in a second, because there's a new feature on there that is very handy as well. And then you can also do your frequency groups. So what this does is displays the frequency, the exact center frequency, and each center frequency in a different color, and you can see if 2 of the same color overlap, which is a way of displaying whether you are possibly interfering with yourself on your own network. Keep in mind, this does not use the propagation to create the slices. So as you can see here, like this north-facing sector is a really good example, because these are 65-degree sectors. Because of the settings, the side lobes show it's out here a little ways, but it's only actually showing the advertised beam width when using the frequency coordination. And then once you let's go ahead and shut that off. And once you have all of your integration and everything in TowerCoverage, then you can view your EUS data that you've collected. As soon as it comes, there it is. And then as these whenever a customer goes to your website and fills out this form that we have here, it's going to come through and it's going to show up on your account in your EUS data. You're also going to get an email. Much like the path analysis from a MultiMap, as you've seen before, is the 6 best possible links on the network. That email that you receive, it's going to be the same thing, but in the version of an EUS submission. So what you're going to see whenever somebody fills out that form, and here's the one that we just filled out. So as you can see, this one here, it is the same thing that we seen whenever we did the path analysis, but it also tells us that the location was not included in any of the fibers. So this one here, we could mark this one as serviceable, and it automatically changes as a serviceable location. Now, whenever your install team or your installer manager comes into work and he sees that somebody already looked at all the new EUS, and now all he has to do is look at your EUS data or look at your map and see if he sees any serviceable ones, to see if they need to, or your salespeople, they need to call them and schedule an install, or see if they're wanting to get an install scheduled and set up. And then once your installers go and install them, At the end of the day, have them come back, change them to installed. So that way then your account is always up to date. Or if they go out there and they were not able to get them, then they can change them to no service. So that means that, that they, or one of your custom pin types. So you can make a pin type for, the, serviceable, but decided not to go with the service, whatever you want to do. You can, using your EUS data and keeping all this stuff up to date makes it very, very powerful. Especially when you're trying to use, if you're using tower coverage with the integration of your website, if you're using the APIs, if you're keeping track of your EUS data, because then later on down the road, if you the leads are not happening as much, so you want to go and see where to possibly set up a new tower location. You can come into tower coverage. You can do an advanced search. You can give it a search name, like no-goes. You can tell it to save the search. You can say, show me only the no-go pin types, and submit your save search. So it eliminates duplicates unless you tell it to show duplicates. But if you can take these, and then once you have that no-go save search, you can submit those to the best tower. The best tower feature it takes, and by doing a best tower feature, keep in mind this does take a little bit to process, because it is millions and millions and millions of calculations to do so. But it does a reverse path analysis from each of the customer locations, and then it provides you with a heat map using the settings that you specify. So what this is going to do, you're going to give it a name. You're going to fill out the settings of what type of tower and access point would you end up putting there. And then once you hit create, then it's going to allow you to actually view a best tower, the best tower results. And this is going to give you a heat map. So when it was doing the reverse path analysis, for each location in the map, for each pixel, it tests each one of those locations. The more of those customers or those potential locations that it could actually hit from that pixel location, the warmer the color that it applied to that location. So as you can see with our heat map here, if we look at a warm location, you have a couple different options. You could actually just click on the map here, and it will provide you the address at that location, so you can go and see if that person would be willing to let you build a tower or something. Or just like in the coverage or the MultiMap, the ASR towers start populating as well. So once you find that hotspot location that you would actually be able to get service to the customers that you submitted, you come in here and you just click on the little orange dot, and it shows you the FCC registration for the tower that's already standing there. It gives you the contact information, the address where it is, all the information that you want to know about that tower, and you can go and try and get some space on that tower and get an install tower or access point installed there. And then that allows you to go back in here, and once you've got that access point all installed, because we saved this search, all you have to do is come into your save search, select which one that you want to view. So this is we had show duplicates turned on for that one. But here's our no-go one that we saved. So it's got these three, and then you simply just hit download. And now you have your CSV list of these customers, and you can go. You don't even have to sit here and open them all up. You can go and take that list and take it over to your sales team, and tell them, here's a list of phone numbers. Call them and tell them we can get your service now. So it's very, very powerful. You can also select after you have those all of those customers. You went out and you did you got your access point installed. Another option that you have would be to narrow it down even more after the access point was installed. So you can update your multi-map, and then once your multi-map is updated, you come in here, go to your no service, select them, the ones that couldn't get service before, pick the data collection map that you added the coverage to, and tell it to reprocess them all. So then what it's going to do is it's going to update all of these three EUS submissions. It will reevaluate the 6 best possible links to this customer. So now that you have new coverages in that multi-map, you can now see that you'll now be able to see that the customer that was once unserviceable now has a serviceable link in it. So it's very, like I said before, it's a very, very powerful tool. And then you also have a lot of other, there's a lot of other options for tracking and stuff too. Whenever you're setting up your EUS submission stuff, you can add your sales team as a group to receive all those submissions. Any new submissions that haven't been edited, they will appear here in the right-hand side on your stats page. You also have the ability to pull an address list. So one of the things that we've added recently is the ability to order an address list. You can come into our new order section, and basically what you can do is you can create a multi-map or create 3 or 4 coverages off of a tower, and turn the RX threshold, your install setting, turn it to where it's a much hotter signal. Set that to a neg 50 or a neg 60, something like that. Get it in like the neg 50 range, and then make a multi-map out of those. And what that'll do, so like in this case, we did we just took one tower and we put all the coverages from one tower into a multi-map. And what that allowed us to do was to go in and select that address list, and we were able to pull the address list. So in this case, that multi-map has 6,824 parcels available in that fall inside the coverage area. So as you can see, it shows you a return on investment too. Even with a 0.3% return on investment, it makes it to where you can see what you would be getting out of getting those addresses. You can turn it way down though, very, very small. I mean, there's people that just get a handful of addresses too. They turn the power settings to where it only returns a handful of addresses. But the good thing about that is that it allows you to see people that you're going to be almost guaranteed to get service to them, because it's going the projected signal to that customer's location is going to be very, very good. And then, as I said before, we'll kind of look at a link to another one of our newer features. Would be the beam height here. What this allows you to do, any of your older links, you would have to go in and reprocess them, but it's really quick to do. As you see, I just did that. So what this does is it shows you what the height from the ground is to that beam. So that way, if you want to know how much higher you need to go, you can use that to calculate out. A link path is essentially the same thing as doing a path analysis. It just gives you a little bit more freedom in adjusting, because it goes a lot faster. You can adjust your heights a lot easier. You can make changes on the fly. You can take these and change them and hit update, and it literally takes a matter of seconds to get the new results. We'll kind of cover some other features here real quick. They're essentially the same thing. We do have the bulk coverage update. You can come in here if you just want to make one single change to a bunch of coverages and you don't want to open each individual one up and change those. You can come in here and select a few. And you can hit the bulk coverage reprocess feature. So what this is going to do is it will bring all of those coverages that you selected. It's going to bring a thumbnail of them into this window here. If we were just wanting to change our TX line loss, we could just turn that on. Or if we wanted to change the line loss and the TX power, we could do so. Come back down in here, and these values that you see here are not actually any of the settings of the current coverages. It's displaying default values. But if you turn them on and hit update, it is going to apply that default value. So we're going to change that to 0, and we're going to turn all these to 15. If we decided, we didn't want to do this one, we take that one out. So now it's going to only do those 3. It will consume API calls from your account. So keep in mind how many API calls that you have versus whether it would be easier just to process them. Totally up to you. As you can see, this month on this account we've used 6 API calls. The APIs reset, the API calls all reset the first of the month every month. In the orders, you can also purchase the files from your account if you're just wanting the KML or the shape files from to put them in some other version of Google Earth or anything like that. You can order those. We also have available the fixed broadband deployment data and the fixed broadband subscription data section for the FCC Form 477. The deployment data. Some CRMs do provide deployment data and subscription data, but keep in mind that they do not do RF propagation like we do. They can give you a list of census blocks for the blocks that you have a customer in, but they cannot give you an accurate projection. In many cases, a lot of the different platforms will say that there's 1,000 blocks in your network, where that same person would tell us that, my billing system said I have 1,000 blocks, and we run their map, and come to find out they have 27,000. Because the billing system doesn't know the capabilities of your network. All they know is where you have customers at. So it's very, very good to accurately report that stuff. A lot of them do give the subscription data. They can accurately do those, but they don't have the power that Tower Coverage does to do the deployment data. I don't see any questions yet. We're pretty much reaching the end of our webinar, but if anybody has any questions, now is a good time. If you want to ask something that maybe we didn't cover, if you want to ask those. If you can't think of it now, like I said before, you can email us at support@TowerCoverage.com, or you can give us a call. We are here Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time. But if you are wanting to give us a call, our U.S. number is U.S. and Canada number are listed in the contact us section, or you can just send a mail from there as well. Anything that you need help with, if something's not looking right, we're here to lend a hand. I'll go ahead and give it just a few seconds here to see if anybody ends up with a question, but it's not looking like we are having many questions going on here.